You've set the same goal more than once, maybe several times. You start strong, you feel motivated, you tell yourself this time is different, and then somewhere between the beginning and where you want it to be, it stops. Not dramatically, not with a big decision to quit. It just quietly fades. And then the guilt sets in, and the cycle starts again. Most people blame motivation. They think they didn't want it badly enough. They think disciplined people just have something they don't. But motivation is not why people give up on goals. Research shows that the gap between intention and action is almost never about desire. It's about something much more specific. And until you understand what it actually is, no amount of motivation will fix it. The problem is called the intention-action gap. You intend to do something, you genuinely want to do it. But the moment real life shows up, stress, tiredness, a busy day, an unexpected obstacle, the intention doesn't automatically convert into action. Your brain needs more than a goal. It needs a specific plan for exactly when, where, and how that goal will happen. Without that plan, your intention floats. And floating intentions are the first thing your brain drops when cognitive load increases. Here's what the research shows. Studies on implementation intentions, a term coined by psychologist Peter Gollwitzer, found that people who specified exactly when and where they would perform a behavior were 2 to 3 times more likely to follow through than people who only stated what they wanted to achieve. Same goal, same desire. Dramatically different outcomes based on one thing. Specificity. Your brain doesn't run on wishes, it runs on cues. Every behavior you perform reliably, brushing your teeth, making coffee, checking your phone, is triggered by a specific environmental or time-based cue. The behavior doesn't start because you decided to do it in that moment. It starts because something in your environment signaled it was time. That's how habits work neurologically, and that's exactly what most goal setting completely ignores. When you set a goal without a cue, you're relying on your future self to remember, feel motivated, and choose to act in the right moment. But your future self will be tired, distracted, and making hundreds of other decisions. Without a cue attached to the goal, your brain has no automatic trigger to initiate the behavior, so it doesn't happen. Not because you failed, because you never gave your brain the signal it needed. There's a second reason people give up that almost nobody talks about. It's called all or nothing thinking. Your brain has a tendency to treat partial progress as failure. You miss one workout and suddenly the whole week feels ruined. You eat badly once and the diet is over. You skip one study session and you've already told yourself you're someone who can't commit. This cognitive distortion is one of the most reliable predictors of goal abandonment. Not because the person lacks discipline, because their brain framed a small deviation as total collapse. Research on self-compassion and goal persistence shows that people who respond to setbacks with self-criticism are significantly more likely to abandon goals than people who acknowledge the setback and continue. The self-critical response triggers the threat response, and in threat mode, your brain prioritizes protection over progress. It would rather you quit entirely than risk another failure. That's not weakness. That's your brain trying to protect you. But it's protection you don't need. So what actually works? First, attach your goal to a specific cue. Don't say, "I'll exercise more." Say, "When I get home from class on Monday and Wednesday, I will change into workout clothes immediately." That one sentence gives your brain a trigger, a location, a time, and a first action. It converts a floating intention into something your brain can actually detect and respond to. The more specific the plan, the more reliably the behavior follows. Second, plan for failure before it happens. Decide in advance what you'll do when you miss a day, not if. When? Because you will miss a day. The people who follow through on goals long-term are not the ones who never slip. They're the ones who decided in advance that slipping once doesn't mean stopping. One bad day is data, it's not identity. Third, make the first action so small it cannot be skipped. Not the full workout, just putting on your shoes. Not the entire study session, just opening the book. Your brain resists large, undefined tasks. It doesn't resist tiny, specific ones. The entry point is where most goals die. Shrink it until it's impossible to argue with. You don't keep giving up because you're undisciplined. You keep giving up because you're setting intentions without cues, without contingency plans, and without entry points small enough for your brain to actually initiate. Fix those three things and you won't need more motivation. You'll have something more reliable than motivation. You'll have a system your brain can actually follow. One step simpler. Don't set a goal without answering three questions. When exactly? Where exactly? And what's the very first action? That's not overthinking. That's how your brain actually works. If this gave you a clearer picture of why goals fail, subscribe to One Step Simpler. One idea, one step, every video.